never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? Hope you're having a very nice kind of a Friday. It's been a busy one around here. Haven't had a shower. A bit sweaty, but anyway, warm in Queensland today, or at least in my part of it. I think we hit 27 degrees. Not that I'm into giving weather reports, but it is what it is. How are you? Bit of exciting news about Paul Offey. His trial has sort of ended. The jury have adjourned to deliberate on their verdict, and I hope to have Michael Offey joining us. In fact, I'll just have a quick look and see. No, I hope to have Michael Offey joining us before the end of the show, at any rate, to get a little bit of an idea of what's happened over the last 24, 48 hours or so. Paul was on the stand yesterday, and there was a bit more evidence that came out, I believe, and then there were some directions, I guess, by the judge, and the jury have gone out. Don't know if they've come back. I did speak to Michael 45 minutes ago, and they were just getting a bite to eat. So hopefully he will be back in to join us a little later on in the show. Sorry, I'm a little bit scattered at the moment. I received some rather interesting news just before coming to air, and it's made me very angry. Very angry. So I'm holding my tongue at the moment, but I'm finding it difficult. So let's put a smile on the face, because there's one bloke who always brings a smile to my face, and that's because he is known as the Waving Wonder. And he does bring a smile to my face and a certain calming influence to me.
Somebody has to keep you calm, my friend. Somebody, especially when I'm the one who stirred you up in the first place. But anyway, that's discussion for a later date. I believe you have another as well.
Yeah, if that becomes a public discussion, mate, there's going to be a lot of
private.
There'll be a lot of blood on the ground.
Do we get private nowadays?
And no, I don't think there's anything private. I don't think there's anything private.
Okay.
I was talking to Sandy. I was talking to Sandy today from the Donkey Sanctuary. 103 donkeys they have on there at the moment, and right now they're all locked up again because it's raining again. Oh, so they had a bit of rain today. They're expecting 20 mil a day, I think, from Tuesday next week all the way through to the end of the week. So that's going to put another 100 mil, let's call it, on the ground or close to. So the donkeys obviously can't go out in the rain. Their hooves, if you're not aware, donkeys are a dry desert sort of an animal. They don't have hooves that deal well with waterlogging. So when it does rain, they've all got to get put under and shed up. So that's a big job. 103 donkeys out there at the moment, and we are struggling to feed them. That is the issue. And so all we can do is try and help by selling a few more raffle tickets. And we do have 330 odd left to sell in this round number 6, draw number 6, where we've got $750, and second prize is hardly a second prize at the way silver is going up at the moment.
It might become the first prize soon.
It might become the first prize soon. At the moment, you'll get our Ainsley rounds, the Byron Bobs, and a beautiful presentation pack designed and printed, at this stage at any rate, entirely by Vincenzo on the screen, doing a magnificent job. So can't thank you enough for all of that. However, we may need to have a bit of a discussion about how much we're charging for them, because if the price of silver keeps going the way it is, I'm going to owe them the way we're going. So
I can't believe that a bob is worth like $9.
$9.21.
That's $90, $90 plus dollars.
Yeah,
it's like holy whoops! I think we misjudged that badly.
Yeah, $9.21 a round, not a coin. They're rounds.
Yeah,
that's what they're currently based on. It's $62.32, the silver spot price at the moment, and gold is $5,422.72. It was pushing a little higher than that a couple of hours ago, and there is talk that next week Won't it be interesting next week? So don't expect too much change overnight from the American markets or the European markets in the prices, but keep your eyes open next week. And if you haven't bought yet, go and buy. If you can, go and get yourself some silver at the very least and see what we can do. Vince, I just want to leave you out for 1 second. Michael Offey has just popped in, so I just want to bring him up and have a bit of a chat. So hello, Michael, and goodbye, Vince. How are you, mate? Good to have you. You've been playing musical chairs, musical rooms in Canberra while you've been helping your brother get his way through the Supreme Court trial of the century without representation. He has to represent himself. He has somebody, a Mackenzie's friend, sitting with him that helps him. And then he basically has a second Mackenzie's friend in his brother, Michael, who has done, well, enough work on this case, I think, to make him a solicitor by now. You should be awarded an accreditation to be a lawyer. It'd probably make you sick, but well done, mate, for everything that you've done. We haven't spoken on here since you headed down to Canberra. It's been a couple of weeks. I believe that the jury have now gone into deliberations, and well, maybe you can start by telling us, the last update was Paul was going on the stand. So how did all that go?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me all right. I didn't get a chance to do a proper mic test.
That's all right. I can hear you.
Okay. I'm just using poor laptop camera and whatnot, so sorry the picture's a bit terrible compared to normal.
That's all right.
Yesterday went fairly well. Paul was on the stand. Was probably on the stand for, I don't know, a good hour or so. Got pretty emotional. He pushed through a blubbering mess of tears for about 10 or 15 minutes, I reckon. By halfway through that, I think every person in the gallery was crying by then. And I think there might have been a few juries sort of getting a bit teary as well.
Wow.
But, so I think it was a fairly genuine story.
Yeah, we should point out, Paul is incapable of telling a lie. He just can't.
Yeah, that came about in cross-examination.
He can't tell a lie. He can't obfuscate. He can't hide little details.
Black
if he's asked a question. I beg yours?
There's black, white, or nothing.
That's right. It's one side or the other. And you've got to hear the story, one side or the other. And you've got to hear the whole story, and Paul tells it as it is.
The first question, the prosecutor worked out in the first question that it was going to be a fun ride.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He asked when he first arrived in Canberra. He said, so you arrived on Friday before the protest? Well, that was a 15-minute story to get to the end. So by which time the prosecutor found out that he'd gotten lost a couple of times on the way into Canberra. And then he'd also gotten part of the reason why they got delayed and separated from the other group and ended up, in fact, coming in on Thursday was because he had stopped to take photos with a girl in a wheelchair that I think you've probably seen the picture of.
Yes, yeah.
And her carer, who were keen to get photos of the truck, and they come to wish everyone in the convoy well and all the rest of it and wave their flags. And he then, after he did that, he then had to go to the toilet. By the time they got back to the truck after doing all those things, he'd lost half the convoy because I'd all pushed on.
Yep.
And then they realised that the guy that was helping drive his truck had his overnight bag in someone else's car. Then they found out that person had already gone all the way through to Canberra. So then they had to go to Canberra instead of stop where everyone else was. Then he goes, so I'm pretty sure I got there Thursday night, not Friday, sir. And he says, but I would have thought you'd know that because there was that many traffic cameras on the way in. I'm sure you would have known exactly when I came in, didn't you?
What a beautiful point to make.
That was question one. He was already going backwards.
Then
he asked the jury to exit so that he could have a question with raise some concerns with the judge about Paul's length of answering a simple question.
Right, okay.
And the judge said, look, I understand you have issues, but if you could try and condense your answers, maybe stop and think about it for a minute and then try and come up with the straight out answer if it's a simple answer. So the next question gets asked, and he's sitting there totally confused for like 3 minutes. And he starts laughing and goes, "I'm sorry, but I'm trying to actually take into consideration what you said." So then it kind of went back to the original format or somewhere between the two.
Just answer it as best you can.
So it was a bit of a long process, but yeah,
Good.
I don't
So when did the jury go out then?
Sorry?
When did the jury go out?
Well, this morning the prosecution did their final presentation or whatever it is, final.
Yep. They're closed.
Final argument. Got to love arguments that aren't really stacked in proper truth, but anyway.
Yes.
Don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but you know. So that was quite lengthy. It's kind of funny because he starts off by sort of saying, well, I did indicate yesterday that I'd only be about 30 minutes, but I think I may not be accurate on that. A lot of lawyers probably aren't very accurate on these things. It's possibly not the only things they're not accurate at.
Yeah, clearly.
And so he went for quite a while. Paul then did a short oral synopsis, and then he said, "And I'd like to hand over a written, full written closing argument, because of my issues with reading, writing," and he said, "I don't want you to have to put up with me trying to go through it, and it probably won't make a lot of sense anyway if I read it all the way through anyway."
Okay.
The prosecutor objects to that straight away.
Yeah.
Of course. Anyway, ultimately that ended up getting accepted in the end.
Does that mean that his closing argument was handed to the jury to read?
His final full complete argument ended up eventually getting allowed to be handed to him.
Right.
So that was good because at least he could get it properly put forward in a way that was understandable. So that
no guarantee that they'd read it, but yeah.
It was nice that the judge actually realised that it would be appropriate in the circumstances to do something a little different to normal.
Yep, certainly.
Yeah. So now, then we had, I don't know, 2 hours, hour and a half of the judge giving his direction to the jury on all the bits and pieces of law and this, that, and the other. And
did you find anything in the judge's comments that gave you a chink in your armor, or the jury was told to ignore certain things?
Yeah, I guess there was a bit of that in some respects. Hard to know how it's all going to pan out. By the time the judge finished his thing, it was they had about 25 minutes of court time left, and then they decided they had the option to decide whether they wanted to stay and start deliberations and potentially even stay later if they wanted to. They could stay as long as they wanted, and they decided to go home for the weekend and put their feet up. So it's pretty fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, you do feel like saying, "I'm glad you guys can all switch off and turn off your work clocks. We'll just keep stressing for the weekend."
Yeah, so back in at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, and only if they actually have reached a verdict, I suppose.
Well, it sounds like the process will be the jury will come in at 9:30 on Monday morning and start their deliberations. If they have any issues that they need to get clarification from the judge from, we'll then have to run and get over to the court within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they'll have to have a proper, basically convention.
Yeah.
And then that will continue however many times that may have to happen for however many hours, days, or weeks that may take. And then ultimately, hopefully, they will come to a conclusion, ideally on our interests of not guilty, hopefully.
That's the hope we have. and the evidence should back that up. Considering
Well,
that,
hope so, but they sort of have the whole thing tied up in such a way that the prosecution think they have a pretty solid case, even though it's all rubbish. Because the jury are just deliberating on the two main driver police charges, not the other stuff.
Yes, yeah.
The judge acts like a magistrate on the balance of them. So they're just dealing with that. But those charges are written in such a way that you kind of are pretty open-ended in how it can be, how the application of them could be used in a way. Like driving at or near a police officer, and that you're either intentional or reckless about their safety. I mean, it's kind of loose. Well,
as we discussed in last night's show, it's pretty hard to prove reckless driving when Paul was travelling 1.19 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, I probably struggle with that one, but driving at or near a police officer, I mean, when you got police that are all around you escorting you, they can turn the tables on that and say, well, that's driving the police. Then they decide to step in front of you and you think they're still escorting you. They step in front of you of their own volition. But I mean, who's driving it? I mean, is there a charge for police walking in a moving vehicle? I mean, that could go the other way too, couldn't it?
Yeah, you would have thought. All right, listen, I don't want to hold you up, and I can hear that dinner is probably being prepared in the background. I want to thank you for taking the time tonight to give us a bit of an update, and obviously I'll be in touch on Monday. And if there's anything to tell, we'll try and bring the news out then too. Prayers are with Paul.
Just stay there 1 second.
Roger that. So, folks, put a prayer in for Paul. Get the jury on Paul's side. They're off having their weekend, and they'll be back in for deliberations on Monday morning. That was a quick week.
If things go right, we might be able to have one of these on.
Absolutely. Is that a beer?
It's a watermelon flavor, zero alcohol wine spritz.
Oh, gee, I could probably think of something a bit harder to celebrate with, but that's a good start.
But how many harder things have a name of that on there? Hang on.
Oh, I know. Not guilty. The not guilty drink. Love it. Yeah. Do they sell those just in the court canteen, or did you have it specially made up?
Oh no, I think you'd need a lot of money to buy something like that in a court canteen, and I think it'd only be available on the black market in there.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Good stuff, mate. Well,
if you want something a little bit more serious, I mean, it's still zero alcohol, but it is a rosé.
Oh, very nice. It's got the right colour. Yeah, very nice. Not guilty rosé. That's awesome stuff. That is awesome.
We're prepared. We're going in strong.
Yeah. Well, hopefully,
if it's all about mindset. We've already won.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully the prayer group.
But honestly, between that, there's that many things that have gone in the right direction over the last 10 days, up against pretty much all odds. I think, aside from all jokes aside, I think God's got His hand on this thing, and
I hope so.
Working towards we hope a strong resolution that will go in the right way, not just for Paul or our family, but for hopefully the whole country. Because it would not be good. It would not be good if it was a bad precedent against everybody. I mean, let's face it.
The Voice of Freedom family is praying, mate. So that's all we can do. Pray for the jury to have some clarity, some honesty, and the ability to deliver fair justice. And
I think as long as they can get a bit of an understanding of Paul's character, which hopefully has come out in the last 48 hours or so, hopefully they will realise that, hey, this guy really could not have been thinking of anything wrong.
Yeah. That's clearly the way it is. Mate, I'll let you go and have dinner. I'll let you go and have dinner, but thank you very much for spending some time with us tonight. I didn't want to drag you away from the party early, so I'm happy that you were able to join us. I really appreciate it.
Hopefully, in the meantime, while we've been talking, hopefully your silver prices have gone up a little bit higher.
Hang on, let me just refresh it. It has. It's gone up to 62.37.
Money while we're talking. All right.
Good on you, mate. All right,
Thanks.
I'll talk to you over the weekend. You have a good one.
Okay. See ya.
See you, mate. Michael Offey in Canberra, helping out his brother Paul in the Supreme Court trial. I'll bring back the Waving Wonder and Mr. Dwyer. That's a bit of good news in that the trial part of it's over, I guess, and we'll say our prayers and that those prayers are answered with a not guilty verdict from the jury, and hopefully that will influence the judge to have the same sense of clarity about the other charges that are floating around in the background. These are not Supreme Court charges, as Michael said. The judge acts as a magistrate, not a Supreme Court judge on those other charges. And what that really means is that the judge gets to be judge, jury, and executioner, if that is the case. However, he might also decide that there is a possibility that if the other two charges were found not guilty, he might suggest to the prosecution they go and have a look at those other 5 charges, and whether or not they really want to progress with them. I'm sure, given the energy and excitement coming out of the Canberra DPP, they will continue pushing it, but that could blow up in their faces a little bit too. So fingers crossed, boys.
No intent, right? No intent for the two major charges. No intent is what they're looking at as far as I can see. And I'm just thinking to myself, once this case is concluded, maybe we should request the court transcript.
Yes, I think we should do that.
Just 100%. And it should be gone through. I mean, there's a guy I watch on YouTube who goes through them regularly. That's Watch the Watchers. So maybe we need to watch this particular case and go through it.
Well, certainly if there is a guilty verdict handed down from either the jury or the judge, appeals have already been flagged, process appeals, all sorts of things. Paul has been denied due process in so many different ways, I believe, and they have engineered a failure for him at just about every step. In fact, I think they tried very hard to get him out of it, but to get out of this sort of Supreme Court case, you need minimum $250,000. As the judge, not this judge, but as a Supreme Court judge said, New South Wales Supreme Court judge, who also sit in the ACT, somebody has to pay. And the judge is simply the head of the bank. Somebody has to pay. The judge isn't paying, so it's either going to be the criminal, in this case Paul, or the alleged criminal, or if the alleged criminal turns out to be someone like Paul who doesn't have a bad bone in his body, then the DPP are going to have to pay. And that could be very expensive. Now, the judge and the DPP, well, one would suggest they are on similar sides of a fence, but the judge is meant to be impartial. We haven't seen impartiality in courts in this case since day one. So, I don't know, Tim, do we expect a judge to all of a sudden get a pang of guilt and do the right thing?
God, you're a funny bugger. Oh, shit. Oh, my lords. I'm sorry, you caught me off guard with that. A judge, get a conscience, protect the DP. No, sorry, mate, it doesn't add up.
No,
that is a bigger oxymoron than a sovereign citizen.
Well, speaking of sovereigns, because I refuse to call Desi a sovereign citizen, now I hear that the Victorian police, after the army have been looking for him for about 24 hours, now the Victorian police seem to think Desi might be dead and they'll never find him.
Wow.
What a surprise.
That, mate, who would know? Nobody will know at this point in time. Is Desi even still in Victoria? All right. There's a possibility. Now, that country that he's in up there, that is big country. That is rugged. It is steep. It's all sorts of things. And if he has bushcraft, he may well have prepped himself a 6 months little spot But failing that, why would you stay in that region? Why would you not have yourself a way out? And Australia's a bloody big place.
My word. And given that Desi was a prepper and has been, in that scene for a long time, you've got to think that an escape route would be well prepped. Somewhere to hide, somewhere, a way to walk out to a motorbike or a car buried in the bush somewhere and get out. But maybe not. There is a lot more questions coming to light about the two dead officers. And do you notice that there are absolutely no questions about the 7 other officers that were apparently standing around outside looking in the opposite direction as Desi escaped from a bus with one door in it?
Well, not to put, look, I know this subject's been covered well and truly, but the Friday court case that was to be in Myrtleford, where Desi was to be part of that court case, they had a treason charge on one communist bastard called Daniel Andrews.
Who is where right now? Who is
China.
where right now? Yeah, in
right
China.
Now, he is in China with his nose stuck firmly up the crevice of his Chinese masters. And that's where he's hiding. Yeah. So then and look, this is just me. The ABC Four Corners was aired, Sovereign Citizens, right? Then we had the Desi issue. Then there's nobody can front up at court, and Dan is in China. Why Desi? Why then? Why 10 police? Why nobody? Come on, there's too many whys. And years ago, I used to watch a TV show called NCIS with a bloke in it called Gibbs. And Gibbs always says, there's no such thing as a coincidence. And I just have to agree in this case, there is just too many coincidences. And when we look back and we look at everything from the Harold Holt drowning, which we know he didn't drown, he was murdered in his own house. And we have the copy of the affidavit, a sworn affidavit put into the Brisbane court by the Navy diver who took him out to sea in a boat and dropped him off the shelf. Right? He didn't drown, he was murdered. Nothing to see here. Then we go down to Port Arthur and we know all about that. That's in the Whistleblower. If you want to get the Whistleblower magazine, you'll find plenty of it in there. We know the government orchestrated that for the guns. We know that. Now they want the National Gun Registry, and this terrible person has shot 2 police officers. Well, the story goes he shot them with a homemade shotgun. And I used to hunt, and I've had shotguns in the past, and 22s and 303s and God knows what. And I can tell you, you've got to be up pretty bloody close and personal to somebody to kill him with a shotgun. And if he only had a single barrel shotgun, that means he had to load it 2 more times because he shot 3 of them. Right? And the other 7 nupties were standing out there having a barbecue at the gate. Yeah, sorry.
And the fact that I hear that the shotgun was a homemade version.
Yeah.
So,
well, so I'm sorry.
And can I just ask for a different theory? I mean, how could this have happened with a man? Let's say he had a single shot shotgun rather than a homemade version. One shot possibly could kill 2 people if they were standing in line, like good tactical officers would be.
Depends on the spread and what's
the aim. Do you think there could? Do you look? I'm throwing it out. This is just a bit of an imagination, but could it be that the police officer that was wounded by the shotgun?
Yeah,
because
it's feasible because it all depends on
the single shot.
The ammo is.
But then who killed the 2 officers? Wouldn't it be plausible? Deal. Wouldn't it be a very plausible deal to have an officer shoot 2 other officers, claim that Desi shot them, and shoot Desi, and Desi got in first?
Well,
You got to ask the question. Sorry, Tim. You got to ask the question. How many shots were fired? They've never told us.
Yeah, that's true.
They've said that there was 2 officers killed and 1 was wounded, but nobody's actually asked the question, how many shots were fired by supposedly the accused?
Let me put it to you this way, Carl, in relation to can a shotgun kill 2 men with the 1 shot? I would have to say no, even if it was firing larger pellets.
I was going to say a slug,
like might have 4 pellets in the thing. If you were standing close enough to kill somebody with that, the spread would not be wide enough to hit the second, and none of those pellets would have enough velocity to get through one and into the other if they were standing behind each other. Yep. The physical impossibility of killing 2 police officers, mind you, they should be wearing flak jackets. With a shotgun. I'm sorry. The old rabbit hunter in me says that's a lot of BS, and you just ain't going to get there with that. It is more plausible that 1 officer slaughtered the other 2 as sacrifice. Right? That is more plausible because, again, until we find a coroner's report, how do we know what they were shot with?
Pretty confident we could say if they found Desi's body, there wouldn't be a coroner's report.
Yeah.
Well, was there one after Port Arthur?
No. And there's not been a trial over Port Arthur either. Nobody's been to trial. And I'm over that. I think like many people my age, and I'm old, right? But many of us that have been and seen so much have little to no faith in anything that the government or any arm of the government or any public service sector would tell us to be truth.
Yep, true.
So anyway, there we go. Now, I got something sent to me the other day, and I've been putting together a video, and I keep mucking it up.
I know how that happens. I do it every night.
But this was brilliant. I'm not going to read it all. I have to wait for the video, but I want you to listen to this. This is what was sent to me. I've made only small alterations, and I do not know the name of the author. The truth will be heard, and the righteous will have victory. A man who stands upright in his own authority, who refuses fraud, usury, and unlawful force, will always be branded with some kind of name or label. The system cannot fight him on truth, so it gives him a label to make him seem small. That label today is sovereign citizen, a phrase that eats itself alive. For sovereignty and citizenship are total opposites. Sovereignty is mastery of self, the condition of being free and whole, and citizenship is submission to the rule, the acceptance of external governance over one's life. Put them together, and you have a contradiction so loud it should disqualify itself on the spot. And yet, it is repeated by police, courts, judges, politicians, and the media mouthpiece as if it has some real meaning. It goes on. So,
I like that.
Yeah, so it's about the propaganda machine, and it's been done for decades. It's been done for centuries. In the early church, if you spoke against the church, you were a heretic. Right? All this sort of stuff. Very interesting. It's about it's probably about an 8-9 minute read. So I'll get that done soon.
All right, let's move off Desi and let's regress and go back to the big event last weekend. So we had well, if you listen to Anthony Albanese on the ABC, 50,000 people around Australia came out and marched for Australia. And that isn't a representative size enough to make Albanese give the slightest of even the hint of a stink of shit about the Australian people. Even a casual glance at the numbers in the capital cities, let alone the places like Townsville and Hervey Bay, Maryborough that I saw. Bundaberg had over 1,000 people at it. There was a march on the Sunshine Coast that had over 1,000 people at it. And all down through New South Wales. I don't know how many people came out in Victoria. And of course, in Adelaide, there was probably a good 15 or 20,000 people. Tim, you were part of all that. There's been a bit of consternation about the black shirts, we call them the black shirts, but the NSN. Now, Adelaide, you had a small issue with them. Melbourne had a bigger issue with them. Sydney, well, if you listen to the people who are attacking the organisers of the Sydney one, apparently they were all Nazis. And I wish people would actually understand what a Nazi actually is. I have been called a Nazi since I was 5 years old, as long as I can remember. All right. Now, that's because of my surname. It's German, right? Yeah. But ask yourself this: how do kids that are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 learn the word Nazi and how to use it in context with a kid at their school?
Yeah.
So
home.
Home, exactly. So just because you've got a German name, you're a Nazi. And I would lay London to a brick that most people wouldn't be able to distinguish a Nazi or tell us the difference between a Nazi and a German soldier, even a German officer. Because they seem to think that everybody who fought for Germany was a Nazi. And that isn't the case. Not at all. Hitler ran the Nazi party, but there were different groups in that party and sent out to do different jobs at different times in the lead up to the Second World War. So the use of Nazi in this term with Thomas Sewell, particularly in Melbourne, do you think it's a fair use for the term? And if it is a fair use, is it being fairly used by the government, Tim?
Oh, Carl. It goes right back to what I just read there. Labels, tags, and names so as that you don't have to pay attention to the outcry of whomever. My thing is this, that let me sort of weave around that a little bit. The rallies that we've just had last weekend, every one of them was interrupted by the NSN at either the middle, the start, the end, wherever, right? Yep. Now, if the NSN have a legitimacy about them, let them run their own rally, let them invite their own people to come. Don't hijack what somebody else has done. That therefore, you're just a freeloader on someone else's effort. And if your message is on song with the Australian people, stand on your own stage and invite the Australian people to come and listen to your story. Don't hijack someone else's. Now, are they Nazis? No, I don't think they're Nazis. Do they have very, very strong opinions about certain aspects of what Australian culture should be? Absolutely they do. Do they have the right to espouse that? If we have a free nation and freedom of speech, they must have the right. I, as a Christian, have the right to stand up and speak my Christian belief just alongside the atheist has his right as well to speak against me. So what I say to all of this here in Adelaide at the rally, it was toward the end, and the crowd had thinned a bit at the end because the bloody march was forever where the coppers sent them down to the last park. But the organisers handled it well. But it was interesting that the police would not shift them on. And it was interesting that the media was right there to get the little happy snap. And so this is why we look at it and we go, well, the media knew who they were and where they were.
Yep.
In every rally. How does that happen? And why does that happen? And
how
so
did they know to be where they were gathering? I've seen the video that's come out of Melbourne today that shows the NSN gathering and heading to the march. Thomas is outlining his plan for what they're going to do and where they're going to go and how they're going to do it. The police are right there with them. And then when they start banging their drums and marching up the street, really poor marching, by the way. I mean, if you're going to, look paramilitary, at least learn how to friggin' march. They've marched up, but were escorted by police straight into the opposing group who were moving to block their way. We're not going to let you through here. Well, Thomas Sewell and his crew are very well prepared to push their way through those sorts of lines, and they're very effective at it. It's not a plan, but the media were there. And then all of a sudden, how did Thomas Sewell know where Jacinta Allen was going to be giving a press conference in a park somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Melbourne? How did he just happen to know? He said he was on his way to the courts. I sort of know Melbourne a bit, and I know there isn't a park like the one that Jacinta Allen was in the same end of the city that the courts are in. There just isn't one of those parks. There is a park like that up behind Parliament House. It's really easy for them to get out, get into it, look all that in the eastern Melbourne or in the east of Melbourne City. But that's a long way from the court. So how did Thomas Sewell did he know that press conference was going to take place? And all of a sudden he's there. Jacinta Allen scarpers off. It seems rather weird. And then all of a sudden the police are there after he's been to court. They arrest him. And apparently now I've got him up on a whole heap of charges, which we won't hear more about until next Monday. I think they're just keeping him out of the public. I think they're shielding him.
How many times has Thomas Sewell been arrested and put out on bail?
A lot.
Right. So it's a revolving door for Thomas by the look of it. But I think if that were you or I or Vince or any of the people on here tonight, I don't think the door would swing too widely for us. I think we'd sort of be trapped in a place that we don't want to be in. But for some reason, around and around and around it goes for this situation. So my thing is this, that the 13th, not this weekend, but next, I sincerely hope that everybody talks to a few of their mates and encourages them to come who weren't there the last weekend, so as that we give Albanese some palpitations, somewhat similar to we had in Ballarat when he got hunted out by bloody John Deere tractors.
Wasn't that brilliant?
That was the most beautiful bit of footage I have seen in a long, long time. I think it was. And anyway, we've got to stop calling him Albanese. We have to call him Ellery. Anthony Norman Ellery is his birth name.
Wow.
Right? He was born, his mother's maiden name is Ellery. They were an Irish-based family. And when he decided to run for politics, the area they lived in was a massive Italian community. And he knew his father was Italian. And so he took his father's name to garner more votes from the Italian community.
What a surprise.
And he filled out on his form to join to sit in Parliament that he had no overseas affiliation in his family, but he'd taken his father's name.
I hope he did it legally.
Well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But he is Anthony Norman Ellery / Elbow Sleeves Bucket. Right.
Do you think that he's feeling the pressure at the moment? And what pressure do you think they're feeling if they're feeling it?
Look, I could be sarcastic and say you'd have to have a bloody soul to feel any pressure. So the answer to that would be no. And that's the entire Labor Party. You've only got to look at the people standing up complaining about the flag and the marches and calling us all bloody sovereign citizens coming out of the Labor Party. Anyway, the interesting thing is, I do think they're feeling some pressure, and this is why they're ramping up the fact that you won't be able to get any Freedom of Information acts done. He's stopping that. Nothing to see here, people. So why, if they weren't feeling the pressure, why pull that stunt, right?
Yeah. They're using the e-safety commissioner as the reason to do all that. She's had a 2,000% increase in FOI requests, and that's because people are not believing the shit that's coming out of her, and that's what they're trying to hide. They can't. They don't want us to see what's really happening.
Carl, let me put it to you this way. I have thought long and hard about this, and I have come to this conclusion that the Labor Party that we see out the front and the invisibles we don't see in the back office, I think they're in the process right now. Their decision-making process could be likened to a Hessian bag full of rats in a burning meth lab trying to figure a way out. That is my description of the Labor Party right now.
It's certainly heading that way.
Let's hope that somebody comes to save the Labor Party by putting all the rats in a tin bucket and then laying the Labor Party down and put that tin bucket on their chest.
That would be good.
That'd be a marvelous way.
So
heat the bucket,
anyway,
heat the bucket, get a little burner, heat the bucket. The rats will
let them eat their way out. Hey, so with the 13th, come on, we can do this. We can give Elbow some real bad night's sleep and fly your flag, tell your truth, bring your banner for whatever it is about the government that pisses you off. Now, you probably won't be able to carry enough banners, but pick one or two good points and let them know. And it's not just all about just the mass migration, it's everything. And in that, it is going to be my intent. I'm got a few people we're talking to, and during COVID there was a big rush on toilet paper because everything was going to be locked down. Do you remember that?
I do.
Toilet paper.
The fights in the aisles over it.
Yeah, right. Now, we're going to need toilet paper, and there's discussion about processes that if the government don't pay attention, if the government remain arrogant, and if the government remain unlawful, there's a process called until. Until. Right? Yep. And so years ago when my dad had a pub in Victoria, every Christmas, just before every bloody Christmas, the brewery would go on strike.
Yeah.
And we'd run out of beer.
Strike. Yeah, I remember.
We'd run out of beer, right? It was terrible. And they timed it just before Christmas so as that they would have to get more money and do all the stuff, right? So, there's this process that has been tried and tested for decades by the unions doing this sort of stuff. And they would strike until they got what they wanted.
Until. Well, that leads me to want to play this for you, gentlemen. This is something out of Italy. You'll have to read the subtitles.
Deve essere chiaro a tutti, ma veramente a tutti. Intorno a metà settembre queste barche arriveranno vicine alla costa di Gaza e arriveranno nella zona critica. Se noi soltanto per 20 minuti perdiamo il contatto con le nostre barche, con i nostri compagni e le nostre compagne, noi blocchiamo tutta l'Europa. E me lo sono scritto qua così non mi dimentico. Insieme al nostro sindacato USB, insieme a tutti i lavoratori portuali che ci stanno, insieme a tutta la città di Genova, da questa regione escono 13-14 mila container all'anno per Israele. Non esce più un chiodo. Lanceremo lo sciopero internazionale, bloccheremo le strade, bloccheremo le scuole, bloccheremo tutto. Ci devono ridare indietro i nostri ragazzi e ragazze senza un graffio e tutta questa merce che è del popolo, che sta andando al popolo fino all'ultimo cartone deve arrivare dove deve arrivare. Altre cose non ci sono da dire.
So what that fella is the head of the docks in Italy. And he's going to shut down Europe if the boat that's got that pompous little girl from Sweden on it and sailing into Gaza to take food to those people that are starving, he's going to shut down Europe. And Genoa is a hub. So I think that the idea of shutting down the country is something quite good. And the people do have the ability to shut down Europe. And I dare say Australia if we chose. And there are a number of ways that we could do that peacefully, but it will inconvenience every single person in this country. It will demand their attention. And I go back to the truckie strike of 1979-80 when I was doing a paper round, and one day there were no trucks on my paper route, and the next day there were 22 blocking the road. They let the cars through in those days, not the other trucks. But that can change. Well, it wouldn't take much to shut down the roads of this nation. How long, Tim, do you think the nation would last if our trucks couldn't move?
Well, put it this way, if the supermarkets don't have enough food for a week, the service stations don't have enough fuel for a week, but the message has to be that it's in the messaging. If we were to ever go down that path, it has to be well messaged that this is not against the people. This is to get a legitimate government into Parliament. This is to stop the communist roll through this country. This is to bring stability to our financial situation. And this has got to be our messaging. Australia wouldn't last a week.
No.
Right? It wouldn't last a week. And if everybody decided, well, look, let's have a week's holiday. Don't worry about taking the kids to school. Don't think you're going to get to work because the roads won't be open. All that sort of stuff. If that were to happen in Australia, the disaster would be that the government has the law that they passed, that bald-headed bloody liberal thing put in place, that they can bring in foreign troops and police from other countries in times of an emergency, and those people can kill, maim, and destroy and go home free. Right? That's in their contract. But the thing is that perhaps it'd be difficult for them to come into the country if the airport wasn't functioning.
Or the ports were closed down.
And the ports were closed down.
Or everyone woke up with a black snake in their bed.
Well, the bottom end of the day is, look, we just want normality and lawfulness back into our country. We don't want we're not asking for bloody impossible.
No.
We just want what's lawful and normal for decent living people. That's all we're looking for.
100%.
I have a point to raise. We quite often are accused by some of the more original people in this country that we are immigrants ourselves. Even though we've only been here for 200 years. That's actually a false term. We are settlers, not immigrants. So the next time someone says you're an immigrant, no, we're not. We're a settler. That's how come this country is the way it is now. Because we came in, settled it, and we built it.
Yes.
So come along with us, because you settled once upon a time, 60 million years ago or whatever. But so just a point. I heard that saying, and I thought that's perfect. That's the truth. So
I believe in the last 2 weeks more normies have woken up. I wouldn't say they're fully awake. I don't know that any of us are fully awake, but they're a lot more awake than they were a fortnight ago. Would that be a fair thing, do you think, Vince?
I believe so, and I think they're going to be a lot more awake even sooner, come December the 10th, which is another subject that we were going to look at discussing tonight, but it's like we've been going for an hour already.
We can talk about that. December the 10th is the day that the new laws about anybody 16 and under not being able to access social media are due to come into effect. So hang on. Let me put this up. This is from Donald Trump. He tweeted this out after Albo finally got his phone call. Last night, I spoke to the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Airbus Albanese. This conversation, and this is a genuine post, right? This conversation confirmed what I already knew to be true, that he's not very smart. He keeps asking to meet with me. Maybe we can lock in a showdown at the Oval Office soon. It'll not go very well for him. Australians recently marched for their freedoms and deportations. They also don't want to be banned from social media. Do the right thing, Anthony. Now, we've been hearing the whole reason that Albanese has been put on the outer since Trump has come back into office is because of his stance on free speech in this country, and there is none. As he pointed out, the other efforts that are being made. But Albanese today has thrown another nail in that coffin with the freedom of information thing he's going to put through. He's clamping down on all of this, and that is in direct opposition to what Trump is all about. Trump is trying to, expose these people, obviously, or get them to do the right thing. Do you think that Albanese is going to wake up to that fact at all?
Probably not. You've got to look at it between the housing deal that have just done, the $500 billion that they're looking at, which just brings more people into the country. The other point, that $500 billion could be educating our people.
Well, we've got to go to the UAE for the money like India does. India are paying for it. And do you actually think that, the people who are going to come over, the people from India, the Indians are going to the UAE.
That's where they're going to get the money from originally. But who's going to pay for it? We will.
Oh, we will. But we won't get to live in any of those apartments that they're going to build. Yeah. They're going to be built and filled by people coming into the country.
Hello. So we got off
probably the ones that have built them, because they'll all have families. Do you think you're going to come to Australia and live here for 5 years building beautiful homes and go back to India or Sri Lanka or wherever the hell you're going to come from? I wouldn't have thought so. And because you've been here, X amount of years, that probably gives you a bit of a right to claim the kick up from a temporary visa to a permanent visa. And this is where the numbers are where we're being screwed by the numbers. The government only tell you 185,000 people coming in. The lie is, it's double that. It's triple that in fact, Malcolm Roberts, yesterday, I think he put a motion to the Senate to have this whole immigration thing handed over to a Senate inquiry. And the Labor Party, the Greens Party, Lydia Thorpe, what a thing she is, and some other numpty from the no seats, an independent, voted against it. And, of course, no inquiry into what's going on at the moment. And I didn't think that Malcolm's questions were in any way racist or anything like that. They were all down to the numbers. How are you going to, where are these people going to go to school? Where are these people how are they going to get to work? Where are they going to live? What roads are they going to drive on? All pretty simple stuff. But what apparently has happened in and under the Labor government is that the people who go and make these reports for government that say, oh, yes, you can go and do this, and that's a good idea, they're activists. They don't actually know anything about that which they are writing the report on. They are activists. And
they're not even in the same goddamn country, because the $6.5 million we paid the UK to write the report about our children not being able to access the internet until they're over 16 years of age.
Absolutely.
6.5 million. Right?
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. So, and there was two main groups, and they're all from Britain, UK, and you can tell you that one's a doctorate in technology, so that's good. The other one's a doctorate in language models. Right.
Wow.
So this is where this come from. The UK, of all places, where freedom of speech is paramount. Was.
Magna what? Magna Carry what? Who?
Yeah. Magna. Yeah. What was that piece of law way back in?
It's a new Chinese car. Haven't you heard
Yeah.
the new Magna
Is it?
Carta?
Is
It's
it? Sorry.
yeah, new Chinese electric vehicle, the Magna Carta.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I thought I'd
Yeah,
ask an
well,
interesting question, though. A lot of the students now use Google, etc., to access stuff for their education, their homework,
not anymore.
etc.
Apparently, it's all Chat GPT now. Google's on the way out. You must be
Well,
too
it doesn't
old.
matter. You're still going to need probably going to need a proof of identity to get into that. You can't use it if it's on a standard search engine, for freak's sake. All right.
True.
Now, as an IT person myself, I'm going to make it quick. I had a whole 4 or 5 pages over here on this screen, and you guys got carried away.
That's
So,
all right. You can do it.
I'll make this quick, right? As an IT person, how the hell are they going to be able to actually manage this? Yes, you can look at typing styles, you can look at language models, you can look at whatever, but these are only going to be partially affirmative to who's actually on the other end of the keyboard. Right? If you want to know the God set and truth, the only way, and they mention it in their act, the only way that they can really confirm who's sitting at the other side is by looking through the damn thing we're looking in right now, the camera, without your permission.
And Vince, can I jump in there, please? Our illustrious communist little turd that spent a week or so over there, Mr. Ellery, China is the only place on earth that runs a technology and has the systems capable of doing that on the scale that Australia is going to need. And I will bet you London to a bloody brick that if this e-safety tramp gets her passed through the Parliament, and if the Parliament tick the box and let it go, all the recognition and safety protocols for the under 16s will be ran straight through China.
Yep.
It will be Chinese driven, Chinese owned, and Chinese operated. And Albanese, Ellery, Penny Wong, and every other communist arsehole that walks amongst us has sold our security to China. Period. End of story.
The other
I just
part
have to.
that,
I've just
Sorry.
got to correct something here. I've got to thank Becky O from Truth Seekers. She's fact checked me, and apparently that thing I said about Trump, she can't find it coming out of anywhere. I only saw it as I was coming on, so I threw it in, and I hadn't done any backgrounding on it. So AAP's fact checkers verified that several viral Trump posts mentioning Albanese are fabrications. Well, I don't know that I necessarily believe AAP, but she's been through his posts, and he hasn't posted it. So
yeah, I haven't
it'd be nice
checked
if
it
he
either.
did, though, wouldn't it? God, it'd be
Yeah.
wonderful if he did. I mean,
The other point
he should know that nobody in Australia is going to care, or won't. Well, less than 26% of the Australian population will give a shit what Trump does to Albanese. So he should feel very empowered.
Okay. Yep. Agreed. There's the other part that is really important about this little piece of legislation. While the schools will still be able to direct their students to educational classrooms and certain content and certain information for their schooling, which is written into the Act, it leaves one very large open hole for making sure they only hear what you want them to hear. They will not be able to look at alternative sources of information. So we are basically going to even more gaslight our current children at school than we currently have happening. So this is a bloody dangerous piece of legislation, people.
Yep.
And honestly, I think there's a lot of VPN companies that are going to suddenly getting a lot of subscriptions. Personally, because suddenly they might be in Germany or Austria or
Denise,
Russia,
learn the difference. Denise, learn the difference between your Becks. Beck Freedom put on the event in Sydney. Becky O from Truth Seekers. Didn't put anything on
different
anywhere
people.
except maybe her knickers and her bra this morning. But and I say the maybe. It's a bit of a question. So get your Becks right before you start throwing that shit out. And I will have Beck Freedom on this show any day of the week because I believe she is a good-hearted person. We all have different ideas. I don't know where hers lay regarding the NSN or anything else. But the fact of the matter is she has copped an inordinate amount of flack and is taking it like a trooper. And the flack is coming from numpties who don't understand what a March for Australia was. We were marching for Australia, for Australian values. People hijacked this march, and the next one will be hijacked as well, using terms like white Australia. Now, if you were to change that to black Australia, would it make any difference? Would it still be racist?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it would be, because if you were in the current
Black Australia is a race, white Australia is a race. It's still a race, so it's still racist, right? Let's get the proper terminology, not the bullshit funky.
I also noticed that there were a lot of our dark-skinned brothers and sisters marching on that March for Australia. They didn't seem to have much problem.
That's because 90% of Australia is not racist. We are happy to accept anybody who's here, and anybody who's going to be a white supremacist or want to be far left into the Aboriginal scene, we are the invaders type thing. 90% of Australia doesn't agree with your pals, so bad luck. And I'm hoping that people are cognitive enough to actually go, flush that bit, don't need it, goodbye, see you later. Tim, you're good with that.
I look at it like this. I don't believe I'm racist, but I am biased. I'm biased about bringing people into this country who want to run down the street and kill people with friggin' machetes. I'm biased about people who get a license in this country, like a minivan full of Asians who, I think it was last year in the winter, pulled up in the Riverland in the middle of the bloody highway because the fog was too thick, and a truck didn't see it until the last minute, swerved to miss it and hit another truck head on. Both drivers were killed because these nupties, I'm biased against stupidity and giving people licenses that can't really get a license. I'm biased about people who come into this country and literally refuse to abide by the laws of this country. And I don't care what race or religion you are, fuck off. Get out. Right? Because it's wrong for you to be here because you do not fit the Australian culture. You do not fit the Australian laws, and you flout your supposed supremacy over the top of us. I am biased against that. Now, if you are Middle Eastern, Asian, Indian, I don't care. You either fit in or you fuck off. Period. End of story. I'm not racist. I'm biased.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Right. Yeah. And I'm not either. And just in case you're wondering, my future son-in-law is Indian Australian.
There you go.
Or Australian Indian, whichever way you want to put it.
There's a bloke pretty close. There's a bloke pretty close to me who makes absolutely wonderful fish and chips and pizza. Not that I would. Well, okay, I know a bit about his fish and chips and pizza, I'll be honest. But wonderful subcontinent man. Love him to bits. Beautiful man. Yep. And has a wonderful family. Runs 2 thriving businesses. And I got no complaints. None at all. He's as Aussie as I am. So
that's right. And they are Aussies. That's the point, isn't it? They've come into this culture. They've assimilated in with this culture. And each one, the Italians, the Germans, whatever, they brought a little bit of their home country and brought that in. And that's now part of our culture. But it's not the mainstay of our culture.
No.
Which is what's happening.
People have said to me, "Oh, Tim, you're just bloody racist." My wife's parents were both migrants. They're Dutch. They're
Settlers.
clogwogs, you know,
Settlers.
right?
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit of family history here. A fortnight ago was the 200th anniversary of the death of a guy called Michael Dwyer, who was the Whitlow chief in Southern Ireland who led the army against the English. And he was transported to Australia in 1803, right? And he died in 1825 and in Sydney, and there was 20,000 people at his funeral.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Now, I am a direct descendant of that criminal that was sent out here from Ireland. So my Irish background means that I'm not really technically an Australian, or am I? I'm born here, but my heritage runs back. But I love this country more than life itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so our heritage is what's made this country. Not mine, not just everybody's heritage has made this country. But now we're being forced out of our culture, forced out of our concepts of how life is. We've been forced to give up on our customs to us for others who come here. No way, no. Will not do it, will not comply, ever, ever, ever.
Me either. Me either.
Gentlemen,
we have... go on.
I have one message for Albanese, right? Mr. Albanese, from one bastard to another bastard, shut up and listen to your people. Done. And I can do that because I'm a bastard.
What does that make me?
Yeah, but
what does that make me?
No.
Yeah, but see, being a bastard by birth, that's one thing. But he's a bastard by nature.
As well.
Yeah.
Right? He's a bastard by nature.
Bred into him, as it is. Tim, we were going to talk LifeWave very quickly. For people that are into the LifeWave product, X39 patches, X40, what are they? X49 patches?
X49s,
are now available in Australia too. But there have been some big changes in the backgrounding of that system. If you are a part of my LifeWave group, then be prepared. There's going to be a big meeting next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I think it is, Tim, isn't it?
Yep.
Where there's going to be some more announcements about ways that you can make some money out of these LifeWave patches and benefit yourself and not have it. I mean, it's not going to cost you any more than it costs me to buy a packet of LifeWave. So if you want to share those with people and they get some benefit out of them, you might be able to make a bit of money out of it yourself. But what's the meeting about, Tim?
Well, just very quickly, there's some big changes coming, as you've said. There's I want to explain a different concept within the LifeWave business model or the LifeWave program. There's a way where if you've got 3 friends who you might just be a customer, but if you've got 3 members of family or friends who just want to buy some product, you can get yours for free. They've got a thing called 3 and it's free. And the other thing is, I want to play a testimony of a lady who she just turned 80 and her pacemaker is now hardly being used at all because her heart is now much stronger and doesn't need the pacemaker, and the battery's lasting longer and longer and longer. Her right, and her stage 4 kidney disease, where she was heading up for a dialysis. Well, she doesn't need that anymore either. And the interesting thing on this one was her heart specialist told her not to have any more vaccines because, well, don't have them. Anyway, it's going to be a good night. There's going to be a lot of good stuff. And you will be, look, even if, Carl, there's a lot of people that have joined us in LifeWave that didn't pay their subs and are no longer in. Even if that's you, plug into this because I think you will find something here, because LifeWave is making sure that the people right at the very beginning start to make some really good money.
Becky-o, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. Come on, Beck. All righty. So Tuesday night, I'll all get an email. We'll see you soon.
Beautiful, mate. I'll let you go. I've got to have a quick one with Vince, and we'll speak with you very shortly. Thank you for your time tonight, Mr. Dwyer.
Nah, thanks for having me on. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Father's Day to all the dads.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Good on you, mate.
Whee!
You know, I'd forgotten it was Father's Day coming up. Laura rang me the other day and said, "Oh, we have lunch on Sunday." I said, "Oh, that'd be nice." She said, "Well, it is Father's Day." I said, "Oh, is it? Okay, great. Let's go and have lunch." Vincenzo,
property, mate, you lose track of time and where you're at.
Yeah.
Fortunately, you'll be back on the road soon if we can get enough fuel in that bus to get us out of there. Anyway.
Well, yeah, and a bit of registration on it would help as well. I've still got Rego for about another 4 weeks maybe. Okay. But yes, we do have a few issues raising a bit of cash, which is why we have a lottery. It endeavors to help us raise a bit of cash for these sorts of moments. And it also helps us feed the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary donkeys half a bale of hay a day. We'd like to make that a whole bale if we could. I really would like to make that a whole bale. So if you could help us, folks, go to merch.vof.com or vofhq.com and click on the Sanctuary 750 link. Our tickets for a $750 cash prize are only $2. And then we are giving away our Byron Bob pack, which, Vince, you have been making. I see Pete's asked for the file, so you've got friends with printers who want to help you too. Yep. We've got 9, I think you sent me, which I should get early next week, and I will send out those to the first 9 orders that we have in. But I've got to be honest, folks, we're getting to a point where we may have to put the price up a little bit because
we're not getting to, Carl, we're not getting to where you already are. We were expecting that we'd be paying a certain amount per ounce, but it actually doesn't work out that way. It's per bob. So hence, So we will honour some of those orders that we have done.
Oh, we'll honour all of the orders we've done.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen them all yet. You have to pass them to me. But
but we might have to rejig.
Unfortunately, people, we will need to put them up. I know it's hard at this stage of the game. Everyone's just got their electricity bills and whatever, but even $2 on the ticket will help us at this stage.
Help us. Yeah. So as we spoke about earlier, the Ainsley Byron Bob, the 1/10 Byron Bob, if you go to ainsleyBullion.com.au, you'll see right now per coin it's $9.21. We're going to be basically sending you $100 worth of silver. That doesn't cover
Printing
our postage.
Is free, and so is the labour.
Yeah. There you go. So we're basically going to send you $100 worth of silver, but we've got to pay for the postage twice, and obviously the materials to build these things up. So we're going to need to go and have to, do something about that. And I'm sick.
You might find it's around 140 odd bucks, and if silver keeps going up, expect it to keep going up as well. But if you want that unique development that we've created, then you're gonna have to pay for it. Right? And or we could just buy a golden shovel for Dan Andrews and Albert Sleazy and dig them a grave or 2 or 3.
Be careful what you say there, Vince. Just
no. It's for when they naturally expire. I'm not saying anything. I'm just be a pleasure to help them into the ground when they finally pass.
I've got a question about Daniel Andrews in China. Do you think he's actually going to come back, or could he be hiding there from?
Well, right now he didn't appear at a court case today, so I would suspect that there should be an order going out for him.
Well, I doubt
unless
that there
of
will
course
be.
They cancelled the court case because of what's happened. It is so many coincidences.
So many indeed. I have a feeling we were going to talk about something else briefly, and I can't remember what it was.
No, not off the top of my head. We've got orders have gone back out. 5 hoodies went out today, so thank you to those people that did that. I am going to, if I get half a chance, I'm going to try and see if I can put up a different option for the back of the hoodies and for the T-shirts, which is a select your own picture from one of our dangerous kangaroos. We've got a few pictures of artwork that Carl created that we can put in on the back of the T-shirts and whatever. So hopefully if I can work out how to do that, right, because I'm getting old and senile, we might be able to have you choose what you want on the back of your T-shirt coming up into summer. So
people are asking for a link to the tickets. Let me put that in the chat right now for you. That should pop up.
And magic with my fingers.
You should be able to copy and paste that one out or click on it and hopefully it'll go to the appropriate place. All right, mate. I'll let you go too. Thank you very much for everything you do for us. And you do so much. I can't tell you, folks, just how important this bloke is to the Voice of Freedom and to the movement in general. He is an absolute dynamo, and it's not just me that he helps out. He does an awful lot with my place as well, and very
Mr.
thankful.
Dwyer and a few others, yeah.
So,
one point to mention, tomorrow night, Mark will not be available to discuss in coin toss for any of those crypto guys that come and a whole 6 people that come and watch us. So Mark is unfortunately tied up and busily babysitting his young'un. So I'll be running it post alone, and I do apologize for last week, but neither Mark or I could make it last week. So
I did hear some interesting news about Bitcoin. That seems to be going up again.
Yep. Yeah, there's a bit of a snippet. There's it had a point where it was at a teeter-tot. It could either go down and go quite down, a significant break in the market, or it could bounce back up. It has actually bounced back up to about 111,000 US at the moment. There is some interesting discussion on whether or not this bull market's going to be the same as the last bull markets, or is it actually going to be an extended bull market because of all the new corporate interest in there now. So it's that there's be more on that tomorrow night in coin toss, because I'll be running the show by myself. And the last time you saw me run a show by myself, everybody complained, so I don't do it again. Remember, Carl?
Oh, I do. Why are people so unkind?
I didn't care, mate. I got thick skin, you can't.
And thankfully, that's what you need. If you're going to put your face on and you're going to put your mouth in front of a microphone, you better get some thick skin, because people are not very nice. Have a talk to God about that, folks. See if he can help you,
I'm going to do the right thing here. And I'm going to go to my deep voice and say to everybody, I'm going to say good night to Carl as the waving wonder.
And that's the end of him. There's a couple of things I do have to show you before we go. Is this David Beckham? I think that's David Beckham and the Prince. I'm not really looking at either of them, though. I'm more interested in the name on the top of that chopper door. It should tell you. It's always in plain sight, folks. It's always in plain sight. And something else that's in plain sight is JFK, or Jimmy, as he is better known. This is Jimmy just after he was groomed yesterday. And talk about happy. He got home and is looking at Rachel, who's in our chat at the moment, I think. And I think he was a bit happy. He was just thinking, do you know how good I look? This is how good I look. So Jimmy was Black Sheep's father's dog. Black Sheep's dad passed away last week, and for a variety of reasons, we had to find Jimmy a new home. And Rachel came out of the blue, and well, she's never really had a dog of her own, never really wanted to have a dog of her own. She babysits dogs all the time, but this little bloke came into her life, and it seems that there may be an adoption. So I can't thank you enough, Rach, and neither can Jimmy, just between you, me, and the gatepost. There's a couple of other little things that I do want to mention I was going to talk about tonight. We'll talk about this next week. If you haven't already learned about it, then you'll probably catch up on it over the weekend. But the ABC know all about this pedophile tape, and they have lied to the government about it. We will talk further about that next week. If you are heading out on the roads and away to do something fine this weekend, I hope you have a wonderful time doing it, folks. It really is a hopefully going to be a beautiful weekend in Queensland. And for the Father's Day celebratees, all us dads, I hope you have a marvelous day with those closest to you. It's wonderful to have kids, and I'm very blessed that I've got one, and she's ordained to come and visit me. So I'm really looking forward to that. Be safe on the roads, folks. Just because it's Father's Day doesn't mean the dickheads aren't going to be out there. Love you. See you Monday.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!